Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Peace River, Minnesota Regional Water Supply Authority meeting for August 6th, 2025. Let the record show all commissioners are present. If you wish, please rise for the invocation given by Commissioner Elton Langford, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord, and first and foremost, we want to thank you for our men and women in the military that protect and serve us, our law enforcement, our firefighters, and our EMS, Lord. We just pray that you keep your hand of protection upon them at all times as they do their best to keep us protected, Lord. We thank you for them, and we just ask that you keep your hand on them at all times. Lord, thank you for the rain that we've been getting. Lord, we just appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you for us being able to be here today and meet, Lord, and we just pray that you give this board the wisdom and knowledge it needs to do the right thing for all the people that we serve. And we just ask all these things in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the chamber today, and we have host county remarks, Patrick Shea. You are recognized, sir.
All right. Good morning. Thank you for recognizing me today. Patrick Shea, Utilities Director here for Manatee County. On behalf of staff and staff with Manatee County Government, I'd like to welcome the authority and the board of directors here to Manatee County. As you may have recognized in your commute and in transit here, Manatee County is a very vibrant and growing community that is well served in the water supply area, thanks to agreements and arrangements in partnership with entities such as Peace River Water Authority. So we are delighted to have you here today. The vital work that staff and this board does to provide drinking water in sufficient quantity and pressure to the area serves multiple public need. I always say utility work is more than just a public work function. It's public safety in providing fire protection. It's public health in providing clean drinking water to maintain public health. It's really a cornerstone of the quality of life that we're blessed to have here in Southwest Florida. So I want to thank this board for your steadfast leadership, and also extend the same appreciation on behalf of Manatee County to the staff with Peace River Water Authority. It is a great partnership, and one that we are very blessed to have here as residents and customers of the utilities within Southwest Florida. So with that, I will turn it back. If there's any questions for me, or if you have any suggestions as far as local arrangements, please don't hesitate to let us know. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, next we're going to move on to changes to the agenda. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chair, there was one change to regular item 5. That information was sent out to the board members, and it's included in your book.
Okay, do you have a motion to accept the changes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the changes to the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Is there any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to public comments. Anybody from the public wishing to speak, you will have 3 minutes to speak on any agenda items. I don't have any speaking cards, so this is the last call. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on any of the agenda items, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. State your name for the record, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Zachary Hudson. I'm the intern with the Authority this summer. I just want to sincerely thank you all for supporting the Authority's internship program, and by extension for giving me the opportunity to be part of such impactful work this summer. This is my 3rd internship with the Authority, and I've had the unique privilege of witnessing the full scope of the Phase 3C pipeline, from the planning and preparation stages in 2023 to active construction installation 2024, up to substantial completion here in 2025. It is truly remarkable to see how this infrastructure is already delivering millions of gallons of water per day to local residents throughout the region. And these internships have been an invaluable experience. and I will be sure to carry everything I've learned forward into my career. And I'm grateful to have been a part of the authority this summer. I want to thank Mike Knowles and Richard Anderson and the authority staff for helping me through this summer. And thank you for the support that you've given to make this opportunity possible, and thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, if there are no further public input, we are going to move on to the public hearing for the budget for fiscal year 2026. And we will start with the presentation.
There it is. It made me nervous there for a second. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Lee of your staff. I'm pleased to be here this morning to review the final proposed budget for FY26. Pursuant to the second amended interlocal agreement, the authority is obligated to create a tentative budget no later than May 15th, and a final budget no later than August 15th, which drives the budget calendar you see here. At our February 6th meeting, Mr. Anderson reviewed our governing documents and discussed budget issues and considerations for FY26. Back in April, we have presented the tentative budget for your approval, and this morning we are presenting the final proposed budget for your consideration. Similar to your respective counties' water operations, the authority is set up as an enterprise fund. All our operating revenues come from water sales and planning assessments to our 5 customers, and we do not levy any taxes to support our operations. Budgetarily, the enterprise system is broken up into 2 cost centers, administrative and facilities. The administrative covers the Lakewood Ranch office, which houses the executive, finance, HR, staff, and related expenditures. The facilities group includes everything else: water production, engineering, construction, and water resources. Before we get into the details of the final proposed budget, here is an overview of the final budget charges per cost center as compared to the tentative budget that was approved in April, as well as the FY25 budget. The administrative office charges make up less than 1% of the total budget, and the increase from the tentative budget to the final proposed budget is 0. The remaining 99% of the budget is attributed to the facilities, which is slated to increase by $32 million from the tentative budget due to updates in the CIP plan, specifically related to the expenditures for the PRF expansion project, as well as removing associated expenditures and customer contributions related to the solar project. In aggregate, the FY26 final proposed budget is about $32 million higher than the tentative budget, or $61.1 million higher than the FY25 budget. In terms of revenues, here's a comparison of the total revenues found within the FY26 final proposed budget to the current fiscal year. Water sales revenues in FY26 expected to go up to about $2.3 million. CIP funds reflect an increase of $57.6 million. Grant revenues is expected to remain flat. The other category, which includes planning assessments, member fees, and interest income, is also expected to remain flat. Reserve funds, which includes internal transfers from R&R and rate stabilization, is also the same as 2025. And lastly, carry forward funds, which includes those debt service coverage funds as well as carry forward funds, is slated to increase slightly to $3.9 million. This graph shows the historical base rate from FY22 through 25, as well as the proposed base rate for FY26. The final proposed base rate for FY26 totals $34 million, which is an increase of 4.7% over the current fiscal year, and is $500,000 less than what we showed in the tentative budget. The majority of the increase seen in the base rate is from the additional 2024B bonded debt, as well as changes in the DeSoto payment related to the Exhibit A of the Master Water Supply Contract. The other rate-related portion of the base rate, which includes the fixed operating costs as well as those fund transfers and internal transfers, increased roughly $100,000 from the current fiscal year. In terms of base rate per customer, this chart reflects the changes from the FY26 tentative budget to the final proposed budget, as well as reflecting the FY25 charges. Due to the additional and refunded debt, The changes on a per customer basis vary. There's dramatic swings, but based upon the changes we made to remove the solar project out of the customer contributions, everyone's base rate decreased by $500,000 in aggregate from the tentative budget. Similar to the graphic we showed for the base rate, this shows the water use charge in the budget from 22 through 26. We had significant increases in power and chemical costs from 22 through 24, where you see that big jump from 82 cents a thousand gallons to $1.09. We're very fortunate that a lot of those big jumps has moderated, and this year we are recommending a 3-cent per thousand gallon increase in the water use rate, which is about a 3% increase, roughly in line with inflation and unchanged from the tentative budget. Outside of the water rate, the authority has relatively small assessments on the revenue side, and those pertain to the member fees and the planning assessment. The member fees support the administrative cost center of the authority, and this fee is proposed to increase roughly $34,000 when compared to the 2025 budget. This has remained unchanged from the tentative budget. The last revenue item is the management and planning assessment. This assessment covers planning projects like the Integrated Regional Water Supply Plan, strategic plan, updates to the master water supply contract, our cooperation with Polk Water. This assessment is proposed to remain at $475,000 per year, unchanged from both the current fiscal year and the tentative budget. In terms of expenses, here's a comparison of the total expenses found within the FY26 final proposed budget to the current fiscal year. Operations and maintenance is up about $955,000. Debt service has increased by $1.5 million. Projects, which includes the CIP projects, R&R, and those management and planning projects, is up $58.6 million from last year and $33 million more than the tentative budget. County payments has increased to $937,000 in accordance with Exhibit A of the Master Water Supply Contract. Disbursements are slightly higher than the current fiscal year. And other, which includes those contributions to the R&R, various internal transfers, has decreased slightly. As we look at the individual expense categories for operations and maintenance, the total operations and maintenance budget in the final proposed 26 budget is $30.2 million, which is an increase of 3.3% from 2025. Power and chemical costs increased in aggregate about $304,000 or 2.4%. Staff and benefits costs are projected to go up about 5%, which includes adding 2 new full-time personnel, as well as a 4% increase in compensation. Repairs and maintenance increase is 3.4% or $83,000. Contract services, which includes services like general engineering, the reservoir permit monitoring, HBMP program, increased 5.9% or $164,000. And lastly, we had a slight increase in machinery and equipment to support additional needs in lab equipment, vehicle replacement, and replacement of servers and computers. Our other rate-related expenditures portion of the budget primarily represents those internal fund transfers, contingency funds, and debt service coverage amounts. This portion of the budget totals $7.7 million, which reflects a decrease from the FY25 budget by $711,000 and a decrease from the tentative budget of $500,000. In terms of projects, we have updated the amounts shown from the tentative budget to a projected $259 million shown here for those 2026 CIP projects. These include the surface water system expansion project and the completion of the Phase 2B and 3C pipeline projects. The change we made from the tentative budget to this final budget was specifically related to the PRF expansion project. We increased the expenses from $36 million seen in the tentative budget to the $69 million you see here. We expect $74.5 million to come from grants, with the balance of funding coming from our bonds. For the system-wide benefit projects, due to Commissioner Cutsinger's guidance, we relooked at the timing on that solar project and removed it from the FY26 final proposed budget. Lastly, our budget includes disbursements of $1.8 million of debt service coverage funds, as well as debt coverage savings from the 2014 B bonds, and those were all funds collected this fiscal year. In aggregate, when you look at the annual budget in terms of its pieces, the O&M costs are increasing through time, generally in line with inflation. The non-O&M portion, which includes the debt service, those internal fund transfers and funds disbursements, is fairly stable, and any dramatic changes you see are directly related to the changes in our debt service schedules. The biggest change this year, as well as last year and continuing in the future, is our CIP budget. This is something that you'll continue to see as we move forward with the surface water system expansion project to meet those customer demands. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Do we have any questions for staff? Okay. Thank you for that presentation.
You're welcome. We have a motion here for your consideration.
Yeah, I have to open this up for public comment.
Yes, sir.
First, anybody from the public wishing to speak on this item, please come forward. State your name for the record. You will have 5 minutes. Last call, anybody from the public wishing to speak on this item, please come forward. You will have 5 minutes. Okay, there's nobody rising. So, I will, yeah, you're recognized, Mr. Beard.
My only question is that regarding the solar project that was actually removed, how will that affect the future energy and costs of sustainability goals?
Well, the solar project has just been in planning over the last couple years, and we moved it out based on some very good comments and feedbacks we received from Commissioner Cutzinger. As for those goals, I have to hand it over to Mr. Knowles, who is our
Yeah.
Director of Engineering.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Knowles, Authority staff. As related to our solar project, really, we're looking at moving forward with that if it financially makes sense. And to do that, originally, when we looked at the solar project, we were looking at about a 40% coverage from a grant program that was established through the state. That program is not in place right now. So currently, the payback period, if we were to proceed with the solar project, would be over 17 years. And it's currently not feasible the way we have it laid out without finding additional grant sources for that project.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay.
The other question I have is, we're about to get this project started. Do we have any contingencies in place if the reserve or the board funds need to be tapped further? Because we're about to start this major project. So if costs go up or if anything like that, what do we have put in place as contingency to be able to make sure that those projects are continuing moving forward?
Oh, in regards to the surface water system expansion
Yes.
project?
Yes.
Okay. Related to cost increases for that, we actually have our bonds that we're actually signing the documents after this meeting, the ones that you guys approved for us last board meeting. We have those to take care of any funds, and then we'll be doing a second funding for the surface water system expansion project in the future. Unlike a county, we do not have CIP reserves per se, because our rate does not include capital components. Under our contract, it's a pay-to-play model.
So you have built-in contingencies per project?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, that's what I think, yeah, where you're going. Yeah, Commissioner Cutzinger, you recognize, sir.
Yeah, thank you for that. No, I agree. I think there may be a time going forward where solar makes a lot of sense. And, costs are coming down, they're getting more efficient. We lost the grant, so it wasn't financially the time, but in no way do I want to see us just give up on that. I think in the future, there'll be an opportunity for that, and I would certainly support that. And also, we do have a line of credit, right? We've got, I think.
$100 million line of credit.
Which is, excuse me?
We have a $100 million line.
Which is right. I mean, we looked at that and we said, going into the project, do we need to expand that? I think we agreed that 100 million was going to be okay, so we do have a line of credit that if we did need some dollars, we could get a hold of them. And the 2 positions that we're adding, what's the timeline on those? Is that something we're doing, or we have done, or we are doing? Where are we at on that? And those will be employees of Peace River?
Mr. Chair, yeah, they would be employees of the authority. Of course, we can advertise or hire until after October 1st when the fiscal year starts.
Okay.
But those would be positions to help us not only build the reservoir and the water plant, but do some additional maintenance and field services that's going to be required as part of the project.
No, I support that. I think it's a great idea to have, with the amount of construction projects we have lined up, to have those folks focused on that. How long of a time period do we see construction going forward? We've got several years, correct?
Several years, yes.
Okay. So,
That's a good question.
no,
Out to the permitting folks out there right now, but.
yeah, but as we move forward.
We're looking at least into 2028,
Yeah.
if not beyond.
Oh, that'd be amazing. If we could get somebody 28, that'd be an amazing thing. But obviously, as we grow and expand, we have the new facilities. Those folks will fit right into the team. I mean, it's not, these aren't temporary hires. These are full-time, permanent hires, correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And if you recall, I think it was at the April board meeting, we did an analysis for the
Right.
board that showed it was much cheaper in the long run to hire somebody internally than contract it out.
No, I agree. All right, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I have a question on the solar. How long would those solar panels last? What was the longevity, end of life?
Pass that question over to Mike.
Because you mentioned they would pay for themselves in 17 years, but how long would they go before they need replacement? What was the calculation there?
I don't recall that from the report. We have a preliminary design report that was done almost to the 30% level. I'd have to get you that answer. Sorry.
Yeah, because, running the calculation, even if we funded it now and it took 17 years, if the panels go for 40 years or 50 years, you run the numbers, there still might be a huge net savings after payback.
That's
And it might not be worth waiting for a grant, is what I'm saying.
Can I interject
Yeah,
something?
Mr.
right
Langford,
quick?
you recognize, sir.
Solar's a pet peeve of mine. Those panels, I know after talking with FP&L extensively about panels and what it costs to put them in and this, that, and other, the life expectancy on those panels, and I'm not sure if we got different ones than what their FPL uses or whatever, but they're about a 20-year life. So
yeah.
about the time you pay them off, it's time to
Okay.
find the recycling facility, because they're all recycling, but I don't know where a solar panel recycling facility is anywhere, and nobody's been able to tell me. But anyway, so it looks good, it feels good to put that green blanket over your shoulders and but at the end of the day, and I'm not sure what we were talking about, but I think FP&L, roughly just the panels themselves run about $200,000 an acre. So, you're looking at a lot of money, and where 20 years is a long time, especially when you get to be my age, but it's, it ain't, about the time they pay them off, their time to tear down and put new ones up. So if we ain't got help doing it, I just assume it's not even fool with it myself.
Yeah.
But
Well, since Commissioner Langford spoke to FPL, I will consider him a subject matter expert. So, thank you for those comments, sir. Any other comments on the budget? Okay, I'll be looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
motion to approve the budget for fiscal year 2026 in the amount of $317,001,509.
We have a motion and a second to approve the final budget. Is there any further comment? Is there any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously. Okay, next we have another motion regarding rates, fees, and charges. We don't need, do we need another presentation on that?
No, sir, this is just Resolution 2025-09 that formalizes the board's intention to set forth the rates, fees, and charges for FY '26.
Okay. So we have a staff recommendation for a motion to move the resolution. Is there any comment from my colleagues?
No, sir.
I will be looking for a motion then.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, motion to approve the resolution 2025-09, resolution setting forth rates, fees, and charges for fiscal year 2026.
I'll second that. So we have a motion and a second to move the resolution. Is there any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. We will move on to consent. Is there any commissioner that wishes to pull a item from the consent? I'll start to my right, Mr. Langford.
No, sir.
I have nothing. Commissioner Cutzinger? Nothing. Commissioner Beard? Nothing. Okay. So I will accept the motion to move consent.
Second.
We have motion and second to approve consent. Is there any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously. We will now go on to our regular agenda, item 1, water supply conditions report.
Hi, good morning. Katie Gilmore of your staff. For regular item number 1, our standing water supply conditions report. So today we'll be going over the rainfall, river flows, withdrawals, and our storage conditions at the Peace River facility through the middle of July, and then go over our regional water supply deliveries for our customers in the month of June. All right, so first up, the Upper Peace River Basin average monthly rainfall for the last 2 years. This one goes July of '23 through June of 2025. With the blue dashed line being our historical average and the green line being the actual monthly rainfall received. So as you can see, we started getting some pretty good rain in May, actually had above average rainfall in May, and slightly below in June. And then we did finish the month of July with 7.24 inches, and that's just below our average of 8.1. The National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center is predicting above average rainfall for the next 3 months for August, September, and October. All right, next up, our river flows. So this is the historical monthly Peace River flow for the last 2 years. This is going through July 17th, with the red line being the minimum flow required on the river for us to be allowed to withdraw water. That's 130 cubic feet per second. The blue dotted line is the historical monthly average, and the green line is our actual river flow. So as you can see, since those rains started in May, we have been right about the average for flow on the river. And obviously much above the minimum required to withdraw. So for July, the monthly average flow actually finished at 1,540 CFS. That's just below the historical average of 1,677. The flow did kind of drop off in the second half of the month of July, but we still currently are right around about 762 at the end of the month. So well above that minimum 130. So that takes us over to the river withdrawals. So this is the last 2 years, again, through July 17th. So once the rain started back up in May and we were able to start withdrawing, we were able to get an average of 16.1 million gallons per day. We weren't withdrawing the first half of that month. Then in June, we kind of grabbed a lot to start filling up the reservoir, 63.4 million gallons per day average withdrawal. And then in July, that backed back down, mostly because we were just about full and were full by the end of the month. So our average withdrawal in July was 38.7. As of the beginning of this week, we're just withdrawing from the river what we need to replenish the reservoirs, what we're taking out for treatment, because we are about full, as you'll see here in a moment. So we're averaging about 20 to 25 million gallons per day off the river right now. All right, so that brings us to the surface water storage in our residence right now. All right, moving on to the total regional water production and use for the month of June. So this table shows the authority and our member and customers' water supply capacity and production for the month. As a reminder, the total combined regional capacity between the authority and the customers is right around 107 million gallons per day. In the month of June, we delivered 28.37 million gallons per day to the region. The members and customers together from their own facilities delivered another 55.46, giving us a total regional production of 83.86 million gallons per day. And as you'll see, that's dropped down significantly from where we were during the dry period that we talked about in the last meeting, which was almost 100 million gallons per day. Of that total regional production, 3.32 was delivered by Manatee to the non-authority wholesale customers of theirs. So that's the town of Longboat Key, city of Palmetto, city of Bradenton. So that gives the total June demand authority from our members and customers of 80.54 million gallons per day. And that's about 75% of that total 107. All right, so we'll quickly step through each of the customers and members. So first up, Charlotte County. So for June, Charlotte purchased 11.67 million gallons per day from the authority, and they self-supplied an additional 0.7 from their Burnt Store facility. That gives them overall about a 64% usage of their total capacity. For DeSoto, they purchased 0.59 from the authority and self-supplied an additional 0.34 million gallons per day. Overall, that brings them to 63% of their total countywide capacity. All right, for Manatee, of course, they're not a customer of the authority, so this graph always shows what they produce out of their own facilities. So they produce a total of 46.66 million gallons per day from their water supply facilities. They delivered 40.7 of that to their own retail customers. Additional 3.32 went to their wholesale customers, the non-authority wholesale customers of Longboat, Palmetto, and Bradenton. And then 2.63 was delivered to Sarasota County under the contract they have with them. So overall, Manatee County is using about 88% of their total permitted capacity in this month. And then for Sarasota, Sarasota purchased 16 million gallons per day from the authority and self-supplied 4.5 from the Carlton facility. Imported that water from Manatee County, giving them a total use of 23.1, which equals 78%. All right, and then last up is Northport. In the month of June, Northport really didn't take much water from us, just 0.09 million gallons per day. They self-supplied the majority of 3.34. Their total use was 3.42 million gallons per day, which is 42% of their capacity. All right, so you can see here the average annual regional use, looking back from water year 2014 through 2024, and then in red our running 12-month average to date. So this is all regional deliveries to the members and customers, including the non-customers, Manatee wholesale customers. So as of June of 2025, our running 12-month average use was 89.56 million gallons per day. That's about 84% of the available capacity. And then just the breakdown of the regional demand from the authority members and customers in June. Again, total use was 83.86, which is 78% of the regional capacity. So that leaves us with 23.42 or 22% unused capacity right now. All right, and that's all. Are there any questions?
Any questions for staff, gentlemen? Okay, thank you for that
Thank you.
presentation. All right, that is no action required on that item. That was informational, so we will move on to item number 2, Southwest Florida Water Management District FY 2027 Cooperative Funding Initiative applications. Mr. Knowles, you're recognized.
Good morning, members of the board. Mike Knowles with Authority staff presenting regular agenda item number 2. This is the Southwest Florida Water Management District Fiscal Year 2027 Cooperative Funding Initiative applications, and there will be a motion for consideration at the conclusion of this presentation. Even though the authority has district funds earmarked for our 5-year capital improvement projects, every year we have to submit a CFI application requesting reimbursement of those funds for the next fiscal year. To date, our 5-year CIP projects have benefited from $178.4 million in matching funds. Another benefit to the CFI applications is the district forwards our applications to FDEP for consideration of their alternative water supply grant program. And to date, we have received $14.05 million from that program. Going through our 5-year capital projects as they relate to the CFI applications, starting with the Phase 2B project first. This time last year, at the 13 miles for the Phase 2B pipeline, we had 1.6 miles installed. The funding through the Water Management District was at $36.15 million. The alternative water supply funding was at $1.5 million. And the funding through the interlocal agreement with Charlotte County was at $49.79 million as a cap. This year, I'm happy to say there's actually 6.7 miles of 42-inch diameter pipe installed, so we're over the halfway mark on the project. And not to steal the thunder from our executive director and general counsel, but this year's state appropriation requests were successful. So we're showing the additional state appropriation. $3 million was actually received for our transmission main projects, to be split 50-50 with the 2B and 3C pipeline project. So this year we'll have an additional $1.5 million towards the pipeline.
If I just jump in for a quick minute. I was at an event last night, and we had our legislative delegation there. There were 3 members, and I thanked them for any funding we received here at the authority. So, you know, I want to make sure that we let them know how much it meant to our authority and obviously to the ratepayers to get this additional funding. So I just want to throw that in there and let you know I did speak to our delegation.
Great.
All right, Mr. Knowles.
Thank you. Moving to the Phase 3C project. This time last year, we had 2.9 miles of 42-inch diameter pipe installed out of the 8 miles. We had $26.55 million from the Water Management District, $2.5 million from the Alternative Water Supply Fund, and an interlocal agreement with Sarasota County capped at $41.22 million. Happy to say that the pipeline is complete, installed, and in service as of June. And as I mentioned before, we have the additional state appropriations to the project at $1.5 million that will be applied to the pumping and storage improvements associated with that project. That is due to come to the board back in October for consideration of the GMP for that portion of the work. Several people were at attendance for the valve turning ceremony. I think the district did a very good job putting together a video on that. I'd like to play it at this time.
We officially begin delivering water through our Peace River, Minnesota Regional Water Supply Authorities, Phase 3C Interconnect Pipeline. This is the latest segment of our regional pipeline system here in Sarasota County.
We're excited to begin reaping the benefits of this pipeline that directly supports Sarasota County's long-term sustainability and water supply goals.
This can provide up to 10 million gallons to serve future needs in the area. This Phase 3C is approximately 8 miles long. It's 42-inch diameter pipe. This section took less than 2 years to install.
I want to thank you on behalf of our governing board. We are extremely proud to be your largest partner in these projects. This is a significant milestone for not only the authority and the county, but also for the district. We've been working with the authority for several decades to try and reduce the region's reliance on traditional groundwater sources, and we've done that by developing alternative water supplies.
The water trail actually starts at the Peace River facility located down in Arcadia. It travels over 40 miles to get to this point, but this is the continuation of the Phase 3B pipeline. This project would not have been possible without the cooperation between Sarasota County, the Water Management District, and then Peace River really is just facilitating the project that both the county and the district are funding.
I want to thank, and I know there's a lot of representatives here from Southwest Florida Water Management District. Because of their support for our regional projects, the county's cost share for construction was reduced by $29 million for a total cost of $43 million.
Florida's continuing to grow, and we have a need to continue to develop more alternative water supplies to meet this growing demand. Our governing board has prioritized $600 million to help fund alternative water supply development projects.
This continuation brings our water transmission system the furthest north it's ever been. It gets it closer to the Manatee County line to facilitate a future connection with Manatee County, but also delivers water right to the heart of where the needs are in Sarasota County.
Yeah, that was a really good video. I probably want to get your autograph, sir. You're like the star of the video. Yeah, if you can get that, email this to my staff, because we can probably loop this in on our Comcast and maybe on our website. It's really informational. I think it would be good to have.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would ask if you still have your golden valve turning keys to please not put them in a yard sale. You're going to need them this time next year for the Phase 2B valve turning.
I brought that back, and I presented it, I presented it to our utilities director at a
Great.
board meeting to let him know that we were at that valve turning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific.
He actually asked me if he can get the one from Commissioner Cutzinger.
No,
but he settled for my.
I'm keeping mine. It's going in my new office in our new administration facility here, so.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. The next project that we'll be discussing is the Peace River Regional Reservoir Number 3. This time last year, we were at 60% design for all 5 design volumes of work. Happy to say that, and then the funding at that point in time, we had $115.7 million from the Water Management District, $24.8 million from FDEP, additional $10 million from legislative appropriations, and a total estimated project contribution from the participants at $224.6 million. Currently, with the project, we have the reservoir pump station under construction with the early works package approved in April. Our reservoir number 3 has been advertised and is up for consideration to continue that procurement later on this morning. And Again, this project received an additional state appropriations in the amount of $7 million. And in addition to our Executive Director, Richard Anderson, and Laurel Donaldson going up to Tallahassee and helping out with the lobbying efforts, I want to thank Senate President Albritton, Senator Boyd, Representative Buchanan, and Representative Connerly, who all helped with this effort. Senator Boyd filed both of our appropriation requests, and the representatives each filed one. As Senate President, President Albritton helped to ensure our funding was included within the budget, and Senator Brodeur, the chair that oversees the Senate Environmental Appropriations Subcommittee, and Representative Esposito, the chair that oversees the House Environmental Appropriations Committee, also helped secure this funding. So, group effort. Lastly, I want to talk about the PRF expansion. Last year, we did not receive cooperative funding. It did not rank high with the Water Management District. It also did not receive AWS funding or state appropriations. Working with our design build team, that actually might work out better for the project at this point to continue with not applying for additional cooperative funding through the Water Management District. The reason for that is if we do receive funding, we have to meet the American Iron and Steel requirements. And on this project, both the small and large diameter process pipe, that savings for not meeting AIS is about $20 million. So we would have to secure over $20 million of grants for the project to meet the, compensate the requirement of meeting AIS on the project. So it's our recommendation not to submit this to the district this year, as typically our response back from the district and AWS, at least with AWS, has been less than, say, the $20 million we would need to break even.
I have a quick question. On the legislative delegation that played a key role in securing funding, does this board ever send out a letter now that it's over thanking them for their service and work in getting this funding? There you go.
There we go. Got the
There you
light.
go.
We can certainly do that. I just, for the record, I did send thank you notes out to all the legislators that Mike mentioned last week, just to thank them for their support.
Was that from you or from the authority
It
board?
came from me.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, I'd like the board to recognize the money that they were able to secure for this authority, and maybe we can, if you can, if there's no objection, maybe draft a letter on behalf of this board, outlining those projects, the funding and the work they did to get it through, and I think that would be appropriate.
That'd be great. I'd be happy to do that for you.
Is there any objection to that? Okay. Thank you.
If I might suggest, maybe we could go ahead and put signature lines for all of you, and we can, circulate it around, so
Yeah.
each one of you sign it, and we'll send it up.
Okay. That'll
Yeah,
work for
we'll
me.
get something together in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That concludes the presentation. If there's any questions before we go to the motion, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Any questions for Mr. Knowles? Okay, looking for a motion to submit the authority's FY 2027 Cooperative Funding Initiative applications to Southwest Florida Water Management District.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move the resolution. Is there any further discussion? Is there any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously. That was to move the applications. I think I said resolution. That was to move the applications, okay. All right, we're going to move on to the 2025 ABC Series Bond results. And we have Ann Lee presenting.
Morning, Ann Lee of your staff. I'm just going to briefly be with you to introduce the item of 2025 A, B, and C Bond Series results, as well as Natalie Sidor from Prague. She has been our financial advisor here at the authority for the last couple years. Before I pass this on to her to go through the results, just wanted to make you guys aware of the bond team. This group of people and firms are what makes this transaction, as well as our last one and our future one, so successful. There's 35 to 40 people involved, both from the bond councils, consultants, but also your customer, your utility and finance staff that do a great job in getting us information that we need on time. This team is fabulous. I love working with them. They are what makes this transaction so successful. So I just wanted to let the board know all these people who were involved and give them all a sincere thank you. And with that, I will pass it on to Natalie.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Natalie Sador with Prague, acting as your financial advisor. Before I get into the details of the bond issue, I just wanted to briefly go over the municipal market. You know, 2025 has seen somewhat of an upward trend in long-term interest rates. They really peaked in April of 2025 with the announcement of tariffs, and as you can see by the blue line in the chart, they've pretty much leveled off since then. But you can also see by the red line and yellow line, short-term rates have declined. And that's really been a function of the market expecting the Fed to cut short-term rates, which, as we know, hasn't occurred yet, but the market continues to price in that possibility this year. Both supply and demand have remained strong in the municipal market, and we really saw this with your Series 2025 bond issue. With that bond issue, we had $370 million of bonds among the three different series to offer, and there was $1.45 billion of orders from investors. So basically, the demand for the bonds was about 4 times the supply of bonds that we had to offer, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on each of those in a minute. The bond issue did make national industry news. The Bloomberg publishes a specific piece to the municipal market called the Municipal Market Brief. They highlighted the authority's deal as the largest transaction to price that day. And then the transaction was also highlighted as one of the major deals for the week in the Bond Buyer, which is the main industry news source that we use for the municipal market. So going into each of the 3 series, the Series 2025A was issued to fund a portion of the surface water system expansion project. This was the largest series in terms of size and really received the most attention from investors. This part had $307 million of the total $370 of bonds and had $1.35 billion of investor orders. We saw 36 distinct institutional accounts give orders. You can see a mix here of larger mid-size and also foreign interests. Some of the names you'll recognize: BlackRock, State Farm, and Vanguard. But it was also interesting to see foreign investors, Mizuho, which is a Japanese bank, and also Norges Bank, which is the central bank of Norway, also put in orders for the bonds. On this piece, the final true interest cost, which is the overall interest rate, was a little over 5%, resulting in average annual debt service of $22.8 million. The Phase 2, or the Series 2025B bonds funded the Phase 2B pipeline project. Also received strong interest. We had $67.5 million of institutional orders from 16 different institutional accounts. This was a mix of bank, insurance companies, and bond funds. This piece resulted in a true interest cost of 4.84%, average annual debt service of $3.7 million. The last piece was a small refunding of the authority's outstanding Series 2015 bonds. This was a small piece, but still got $24.5 million of orders for about $7 million of bonds that were offered. The gross savings were $292,000. All of that occurs over the next 3 years, which is the term of those bonds, so it's about $93,000 of savings per year. In terms of next steps, we'll be beginning to plan for financing Package 2 of the surface water system expansion project. Right now, we're tentatively looking at coming back to the board in December to request approval to proceed with that second financing. The plan would be to begin working on documentation and ratings and diligence related to that piece the early part of 2026 and issue those bonds in mid-2026. I do want to mention that timing is preliminary, and we're expecting that to be fluid to correspond with the status of the different components of that second part of the surface water system expansion project. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Any questions? Okay, thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 4, contractor pre-qualification for the Peace River Regional Reservoir 3 project. Mr. Knowles, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you. For the record, Mike Knowles with Authority Staff, presenting regular agenda item number 4. I'll be going over an update on the PR3 project as it relates to the reservoir and the mitigation package, review the procurement strategy for the PR3, discuss the minimum qualifications we put out there for our contractors, then discuss the 3 firms we are recommending for pre-qualification and consideration and a motion by the board after the presentation. So the 100% design has been complete by HDR for all 5 volumes of work associated with the PR3. Our permitting efforts are ongoing for the environmental resource permit and our 4.4 permit with the Army Corps of Engineers. We're currently estimating that by the December timeframe, by that board meeting, we should have those permits in hand. Our CMAR is currently ongoing with construction, early works on the Volume 3 package, which is the reservoir pump station, and they've helped us put together several owner direct purchase packages for the sales tax savings. And then for consideration today is progressing the procurement of our reservoir contractor to move on to the bidding phase. If these firms are approved for pre-qualification, the invitation to bid would go out later this month, and we would have those bids back in December. So our procurement strategy, again, we have our construction manager at risk, Archer Western. They're working on 3 major components of the PR3, including the river intake pump station, reservoir pump station, and our large conveyance pipeline at 84 inches in diameter. Then we have a traditional design bid build with a contractor that we're looking to pre-qualify today for building reservoir number 3 and potentially taking care of the on-site mitigation if we choose to proceed with that option. The minimum qualifications we put out for our contractors, submit references for similar sized projects and complexity, self-perform at least 40% of the project, have completed at least 2 million cubic yards of embankment, and completed large diameter pipe installation, as well as 25,000 cubic yards of soil cement installed, at least 80-foot depth for a soil bentonite cutoff wall, 500 cubic yards of mass concrete, and then experience dewatering and mitigating in a Florida environment with a high groundwater table. So we advertised our RFQ back in April 9th. We received the proposals back on May 7th, and our professional services evaluation committee met on June 23rd with the recommendation of these 3 firms. And to give you some idea of what their experience is, just in Florida reservoirs, it's going to sound like I'm reading out bingo numbers, but for instance, Phillips & Jordan has worked on the A2, C43, and C51 reservoirs in South Florida, representing over 100 billion gallons of reservoir storage construction. Kiewit built the C23 and C24 at 9.8 billion gallons of reservoir storage, also in South Florida. Kiewit also completed the repairs and rehabilitation of the 15.5 billion gallon Bill Young Regional Reservoir for Tampa Bay Water. Then we have Barnard. They built the 1.1 billion gallon C44 reservoir in South Florida, and just 60 miles southeast of where we stand today, they also built the authority's 6 billion gallon reservoir number 2. So if approved today, we'd be sending out that invitation to bid to these 3 contractors, receiving those bids back within about a 2-month time frame, enough time to evaluate them, and then bring them back to the December board meeting for consideration of approving the lowest qualified and responsive bidder. From that point forward, we would start construction on reservoir number 3 and then potentially the wetland mitigation. I'd be happy to entertain any questions the board has.
Any questions? I would just comment, I'm thrilled that we had the participation for the pre-qualification process, to have 3 qualified companies come in. I think that that is going to be really good for the authority to have a healthy process with 3 people in there. So I'm glad to see it, because sometimes you're not able to get the participation rate where you want it to be to have a good, healthy, competitive process. But I think having 3 were there. Yeah, so I'm happy about that. Okay, any other comments? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve contractors pre-qualified to bid on the Peace River Regional Reservoir 3 project, volumes 1 and 5, as follows. Barnard Construction Company, Inc., Kiewit Infrastructure, South County, and Phillips & Jordan, Inc.
So moved. Oh, second.
We have motion and second to move the item. Is there any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to item number 5, deposit on mitigation bank credits for state environmental resource permit. And I have Jim Gita presenting. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, sir. Jim Guidier, Director of Water Resources and Planning. I'll be presenting this morning a request for authorization for the Executive Director to place a deposit on mitigation bank credits for our state environmental resource permit. Quick overview on the presentation. I'm going to give you a brief description of the 2 permits that we need that are related to wetland mitigation. I'll give you an overview of what our footprint of the project is, how many wetland impacts we'll have. I'll give you an overview of what mitigation considerations are at a high level today. Describe to you why we're asking for authorization for this deposit today. And we will be providing a much more detailed presentation to the board at a future board meeting once we have more detailed information, particularly from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on their 404 application permit. So there are 2 permit types that we are in process of seeking right now. The first is that with the state, the environmental resource permit. We're being reviewed by the Southwest Florida Water Management District primarily with assistance from the FDEP. The state ERP is certainly involved with wetland impacts and mitigation evaluation. They also, though, look at flood protection, water quality protection, and then the DEP's role is to make sure that there's dam safety is being considered. With the 404 permit, that's the federal permit that's issued under the Clean Water Act, that is primarily a wetland mitigation and impact evaluation. That permit relies on the issuance of the ERP. It can't be issued until the ERP is issued. One of those reasons is that they need to receive a state water quality certification, which is provided by the ERP. Also, the Corps has told us they want to review SwiftMud's evaluation of the wetland impacts and the sufficiency of the mitigation. So that permit will be stalled until they get that information on the ERP. So as far as the project footprint here, to the right, you can see the RV Griffin Reserve. You can see in green, you can see the large PR2, our existing reservoir. To the southwest, that's the footprint of the reservoir itself. We have some other ancillary impacts with pipes and things like that, but just to give you a general orientation there. The result is we have about 281 acres of unavoidable wetland impacts. So when you submit an application like this, the environmental scientists at the agencies translate acres into what they call functional value of the wetland, and then we have to they then establish what a functional loss would be in association with that. That value is 202 units, and we have to provide a functional gain of at least that much to secure the permit. So you have 2 general mitigation options under these types of permits. First one is to do on-site permitting responsible mitigation. That's where you do all your mitigation on-site. You take the authority in this particular case would be required to construct, monitor, and maintain in perpetuity all the mitigation that's done on the RV Griffin. The other option that's available to permittees is the purchase of mitigation bank credits. To the degree they are available in the locations and the mitigation types, you can buy mitigation bank credits to offset your impacts as well. The mitigation then would be located off-site. It would be the responsibility of a mitigation banker who holds onto the permit and holds full responsibility for mitigation and mitigation success. So you can do either of those or a combination of both. So in the application process, to give an idea of what we did in the applications and how that works, we submitted a proposal for 100% on-site permitting responsible mitigation, which is exactly what we ended up doing on the Reservoir 2 project. We have 2 areas shown here on the graphic. You've got the northern pasturing area to the north there. You see the light blue hatched area. And then in the very southwesternmost area, the orange hatched area is the southwest mitigation area. We did this because we wanted to give the agencies a chance to give us feedback on whether they thought what we were proposing was sufficient to offset the impacts in their eyes based on their assessment. It did not commit the board to having to do 100% on-site mitigation. You still have the full ability to do mitigation bank credits or a combination of the 2, but this at least got the ball rolling on that dialogue with the agencies. With mitigation bank credits, it's usually a simpler regulatory process. You don't have to go through all that evaluation. The permits have already been issued to other entities for mitigation banking, so it's usually pretty straightforward. And the board will certainly have the ability at a future meeting to decide what you want to do overall for the overall mitigation. So why are we here today? Well, the ERP is getting very close to completion. Obviously, that's part of the critical path for the entire project. And as I mentioned, the Army Corps permit is going to rely on the ERP permit. We've been told by the agency that it looks like we have a very good proposal, but they believe there may be a shortfall in how much we proposed. We do not have the final numbers from them yet, but our estimates from our consultants through the discussions with the Water Management District is we think we're no more than 10% off, i.e. we may need to provide up to 20 units of additional mitigation, and we don't believe we can do more mitigation on site. So mitigation bank credits seem to be the way to go. We can't complete the ERP until we actually provide some type of reasonable assurance that we are actually going to purchase mitigation bank credits.
I
So-
have a quick question.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that the on-site mitigation has to be maintained in perpetuity.
Yes, sir.
What are the maintenance costs associated once it's established?
Great question. Once it's established, it's down to about, roughly, we estimate about $100,000 a year.
Okay.
It's between when you do the impacts and you get to success that you have additional costs, which can be more than that. But at the end, it's just about $100,000 a year is the estimate we've got for the consultant.
So you did an analysis on the maintenance in perpetuity as opposed to just farming it out to off-site?
Right, there's that balancing act,
Yeah.
which we will come back and present more detail about at a future meeting, but certainly we have to, the one is just capital costs upfront, pay the mitigation bank. For us, we've got to construct, that's capital cost, we have the investment in getting to
And
our
ongoing
long-term
maintenance.
success, so it's not completely apples to apples, but that's what we'd like to present to you
Okay.
in the future.
Thank you.
So with this, we actually did go out for an invitation to bid a couple of years ago now to make sure that we had an opportunity to choose mitigation bank credits if we should so choose to do that. And we do have mitigation bank credits that are available in the basin of interest. That's the Peace River Basin, and for the type of wetland impacts we're talking about, which are herbaceous wetlands. The EIP Credit Company was one of the bidders. They were the low bidder. And they have mitigation credits available for purchase right now. We need to, again, do some type of a deposit with the mitigation banker and demonstrate that to the agency that we are indeed going to go down that pathway to achieve completeness of the application for the ERP. And until we do that, again, we're kind of in a stall mode. That's why we want to talk to you now. We didn't want to wait till October to do that. Again, we'll go through all the details on the overall approach later, but at this point in time, we thought it would be good to try and jumpstart that process. This is an estimate of what the mitigation bank credit costs would be if our shortfall ends up being as high as 20 credits. It may not be 20, it may be less than that, but if it's 20, the deposit would be 15%. It's at $85,000 per credit. It would be $255,000 for the deposit. We're requesting authorization for the executive director to do that today. The overall cost would be $1.7 million if it's 20 credits to do that mitigation. I would point out here, and I think it's an important consideration, and this is why we felt comfortable bringing this to you, is that that's going to be the minimum number of credits that we're going to need. If our on-site mitigation is pretty much maxed out and we need a bit more through mitigation bank, we'll have to get a minimum of that amount of mitigation bank credits. Otherwise, we'll be short.
But you haven't determined how much you need off-site, so if we ultimately don't need it, is this refundable?
Well, we will not place anything down if we have actually, say it this way, if the credits that we have a shortfall on don't exist, actually SwiftMud comes back and says, actually, we've thought through it more, you don't have a shortfall, we won't put a deposit down on anything. If they come back and say it's 10, we'll put a deposit on 10. But to secure that state permit, we've got to put some type of deposit down should they identify a shortfall. Unfortunately, and it's not how we'd like to be here, we don't know the exact number yet. We anticipate knowing in about a week or two. So that's kind of where we are right now.
So locking up the off-site credits is not time of the essence at this point? We know they have capacity, but once we determine what we need, then we can make the deposit.
Well, I think that you can make the deposit when you choose as a board. What we're suggesting is, since we will know how much the minimum amount of mitigation bank credits is that we need to buy.
Okay.
We'd like your authorization to buy that, say it's September 1st, okay? If we get the feedback from SwiftMud before then, rather than waiting till October for permission and then being maybe 30 to 60 days behind, we're just trying to continue to move the permit process forward. So that's why we brought this particular part, this component of mitigation in front of you.
It's a timing issue.
Name for the record, sir?
Yeah, because you're,
Name for the record, sir?
oh, I'm sorry, Doug Manson, I'm the general counsel. So I was saying it's a timing issue just from a standpoint of wanting to get if we have to get the reservation letter in to SwiftMud to get the permit issue, until the permit's complete, they don't begin processing the permit. So we want to be able to do that as soon as we get the number from SwiftMud, put that in the next day, and then be able to submit the reservation letter so they begin processing, so the permit comes out more quickly.
Okay. Any comments? Okay. You still have the floor, sir.
Okay. So again, we will be bringing back an overall mitigation strategy once we have all the details from not only the state, but also the federal government as to what their expectations are. We're going to do a very detailed deep dive as to what we think would be the best thing to do on site. So you will have the opportunity to do that in the future, at a future meeting. So with that, this is the staff recommendation. I can read it or
Any further questions?
discuss if there's any questions.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to authorize the executive director to place deposit on mitigation bank credits with EIP Credit Company LLC to address a potential mitigation shortfall identified in the Southwest Florida Water Management District PR3 project ERP application for a not-to-exceed amount up to $127,500.
I'm sorry.
$255, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
$255,000. I didn't get the
So
update.
move. So move.
We have motion and second to move the item. Is there any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to item number 6, PR3 Volume Number 3 Guaranteed Maximum Price. Mr. Knowles, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you. For the record, Mike Knowles with Authority Staff, presenting regular agenda item number 6. This is the Volume 3 Guaranteed Maximum Price, which is with Archer Western for the construction package to complete the reservoir pump station. I'll be reviewing, it's a little redundant, the procurement strategy for the PR3, talk about what is in the pump station guaranteed maximum price, and address any questions before going to the motion. So again, Archer Western, our CMAR, is working on the river intake pump station, reservoir pump station, and the 84-inch diameter conveyance pipeline. So today, we're here to talk about Volume 3. In the upper right is the reservoir pump station. That is the existing one. Talking about the benefit we've had from working with Archer Western on our CMAR is from day one, they've been able to look at the engineer's report, the design at 30%, and come up with their estimated cost, but also value engineering opportunities as we move through the design. So about a year and a half ago, they were at about $50 million with contingency on the project at 30% design. About a year ago, they were at $48 million after implementing some VE options. Just 6 months ago, they were at about $46 million for the package at 90%. Today, we're up to $49 million, but still relatively close to where we started off with our CMAR. $6 million of that has already been approved by the board and has a $500,000 contingency. That was from the April board. What's being considered today is an amendment to complete the construction package at about $43 million. So some of the value engineering we've implemented to date has been doing steel sheeting versus a pipe intake on the reservoir pump station, and also proceeding with owner direct purchase of materials. Some of the VE opportunities after reviewing the 100% design that we are still moving forward with, and likely will implement all 4 of these, is to lessen the height of the building. That lowers the shipping cost by about $100,000. Move our pipe tie-in locations a little closer to the existing pipe, reducing the amount of pipe we need to install. It's about another $500,000. Looking at pipe material, ductile versus steel, that's potentially another $100,000 in savings. And the biggest one is we're going to eliminate a secant pile wall and go with a reinforced steel sheeting. So implementing those options going forward, we actually will be a lot closer to the $46 million we were about 6 months ago. So talking about where our pump station is, you can see the existing pump station in between the 2 lobes of the reservoir number 1. Our proposed pump station is just adjacent to that, a little to the southeast. So you can see this is the construction site today with the early works package ongoing. You can see the turbidity curtain around the proposed pump station site, as well as a smaller turbidity curtain protecting the intake for our existing reservoir pump station a little to the right of that. They've installed their temporary facilities. They've got a crane on site, and the steel sheeting is in place, ready to start installation in the coming weeks. So the items included in this scope are to continue the construction all the way through construction, testing, and startup of the reservoir pump station at $42.49 million, which also includes about $5 million in contingency. With that, I'd like to address any questions the board has before going to the motion.
Any questions? You recognize, sir?
Yeah, thank you. The value engineering, the $2.5 million for the change, that's pretty significant. You feel very comfortable that we're not giving up any long-term benefits from the change? In other words, we're looking at a facility we want to, be there for the next 50-plus years, correct?
That's correct, yeah, and that was the original concept behind the secant pile wall, was this has got to last 30, 40, 50 years.
Right.
Working with the contractor and HDR as the designer, they were able to come up with a better option, more cost-effective option that also handles the long-term potential of corrosion. And that's really what we're after, is making sure that the pilings down there, the wall that gets put in, doesn't corrode over time and potentially degrade or destabilize the pump station.
And the materials that they're using, they give us that benefit?
Yes.
Okay.
This redesign has the same benefit expected life span as the secant pile wall that's currently in the design.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the construction agreement between the authority and construction manager at risk for the Peace River Regional Reservoir Number 3, PR3 Reservoir Pump Station in the amount not to exceed $42,490,000.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to move the item. Is there any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion?
Design, complete the permitting, start one structure, complete that, move on to the next one. That approach was going to get us done with the project in December of 2028. So we tasked the design-build team with condensing that schedule and working more concurrently on the design and construction simultaneously. So our current schedule has a lot more steps to it that the board has approved up to this date. The consideration right now is contract amendment number 3 for the early works, and if this is approved, we would come back in December for contract amendment number 4, which would be the final GMP construction package for the water plant. All that crashes our schedule by about 9 months. So in the current scope of work being considered for the early works, it includes mobilization to the site, temporary facilities for the contractor, construction engineering services for our EOR, Hazen, site work that includes surcharging the site for the proposed water treatment plant with about 40,000 cubic yards of fill. That effort to use gravity and use our fill that we have on site from dredging projects to settle the soil saves about $1 million versus sinking new piles to support the water treatment plant. Then this covers general conditions like insurance through April 2026. It also allows the contractor to help us put together process pipe owner direct purchase packages and form up the base once the site has settled for the concrete pours. We start off with our preliminary engineering report almost 2 years ago now that our owner's agent, Brown Caldwell, did for us at about 30% design, and that was at $153 million. Then we had our construction manager at risk take a look at that package. They felt we were at about $160 million for the water plant expansion. And then after bringing on the Progressive Design Build team back in January, they had an estimate at about a 45% design at $174 million. However, that did include $32 million of contingency for the project. Today, we're at about 55% design. We've implemented some VE options, and our known costs have been reduced by about $3 million to $171 million. But the recommendation from the team to look at potential escalation in materials, tariffs, other items is to increase the contingency to about $39 million. So we're at about $210 million with our estimate today. So the VE options that were implemented, we saved about $2 million looking at the footprint and the grading around the proposed water plant. That was eliminating a retaining wall around the eastern edge of the property. Now it's going to be graded down to meet the soil that's out there. And then the transfer pipe route was going to be along the south end of the plant. We moved that to the north end of the plant dramatically reducing that, which saved about $1 million on the project. We're still looking at VE opportunities, although they are a lot smaller than they were first identified early on in the design. So we've got quite a few that are listed and many more that I don't have time to get into here, but they do come up at our biweekly meetings to progress these options and keep chipping away at the cost. So the early works package being considered today is at $13.8 million of the overall cost of the project. And being this is the last presentation, it's an opportunity to present the coming attractions for the next board meeting. So this is an updated schedule of the motions that would go to the board as they relate to our CIP projects. In October, we expect the guaranteed maximum price for the Phase 3C project for the storage and pumping improvements. We'll also have an electrical package for Archer Western, which is for all of the electrical improvements associated with the PRF expansion and the PR3, both on the plant side and the RV Griffin side. And then we'll have our guaranteed maximum price amendment for the construction of the 84-inch diameter pipe with Archer Western, which is volume 4. And as Jim mentioned, potentially the mitigation credit bids would be presented in October. So with that, I'd like to entertain any questions the board has before going to the motion.
Any questions for staff? Okay. I'm looking for a motion to approve amendment number 3 to the Progressive Design Build Agreement for the Peace River Facility Expansion between the Authority and Wharton Smith for the Peace River Facility Expansion Early Works Package in the amount not to exceed $13,809,472.
So move.
Second.
We have motion second to move the item. Is there any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to General Counsel's report. Mr. Manson.
I had nothing.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in there, but just wanted to make sure you were recognized if something popped up.
I appreciate it.
Okay. We are going to move on to the Executive Director's report. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to add on to the comments made about the appropriations for this year and recognize Doug and his team, especially Laura Donaldson. It was a difficult year up there, to say the least, or an interesting year, maybe is a better way to put it. But she did a phenomenal job in working the process and keeping our request in the state budget. And just want to say hats off to her and her team to help us secure that $10 million, because it goes a long way, and as you said, comes right off the top of the ratepayers' costs. So
Absolutely.
that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Okay, we're going to move on to the chairman's report. That is me. So
You're recognized.
I'll recognize myself. So each member was required to submit a review of Mr. Anderson's performance for the year. I wasn't sure, Commissioner Bearden, it's not in my packet. Did you submit one?
I don't think I did.
Okay, because I have 3 that are filed, and I didn't see yours, so I didn't know.
I don't know if I ever,
Got it?
yeah, maybe because I was on, I don't know.
Okay, so we do have 3 that are part of the record, so we're missing one.
I believe we only received 3, and Commissioner Bearden's didn't come through, so.
Okay.
Was he notified?
Yes, I believe.
Okay, I just want to make sure he wasn't not missed. Okay. All right, so we do have 3 for the record, and they all came out with pretty good grades, Mr. Anderson, I would say. So, some of my comments obviously were, I'm looking forward to a new year. You being new on board, I don't like to give like straight 5s, which on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, I like to leave room. So for me, I pretty much gave you straight 4s. A 5 is like an A triple plus in my book. And I need to be able to measure room for improvement. So if I start out at a 4, that's like my baseline. That's still like getting an A, but just not, perfect. So it gives me room to move or deduct as, I reflect on your performance, if I'm here next year. So I just want to let you know, while it wasn't straight 5s, in my book, that's still a really good grade to get straight 4s. Yeah, but you're doing a very good job. Yeah. Any other commissioner comments on the review? Commissioner Cutsinger, you recognized. You got to take your finger. There you go.
Got it. No, I think, for me, 4s and 5s. And what I focused on a lot was the seamless transition to new leadership. I mean, there were no bumps or hiccups or anything like that. It was just moving forward in the midst of, some amazing projects that we're doing. I mean, these are large-scale projects that take a lot of experience and wisdom and moving it forward. And here we are, just very, very, I think, efficiently, not only moving forward, making sure our costs are as low as they can be, and, you're just running a very, very tight team and doing a great job. So high marks across the board for me.
Mr. Langford, you recognize.
Yeah, basically same here. I mean, it's, you're just in a new chair, but you've been here a long time. So, kind of like the same old date, you just got a new dress on. Anyway, I was all 5s across the board. Of course, if you mess up now, I'm gonna get my eraser out. But I think you're gonna do fine. I'm pleased with the job you're doing, and just continue chugging forward. You got a good staff put together, and everything seems to, like I say, it was a seamless transition, in which we all figured it would be, and so I'm tickled. So. Yeah, just keep doing what you do.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so now there's a motion in here to approve the employment agreement, and we talked about the salary adjustment specifically and on a percentage basis. Can you explain again, just so we're all clear, on the movement in the salary as far as the percentage tied to COLA indexing? That's on.
Yeah, that just came on. So what was approved in the budget was a 4% increase for staff, 2% is COLA, and then 2% is based on merit.
Okay.
And then, so going forward, the supervisors and managers will review staff and record their scores, and then based on that score, they would get all or a portion of the 2% merit.
Yeah, I just want to get that on the record because the motion is not specific to that. It's just, I'll be looking for a motion to approve an amendment to the employment agreement for adjustment of executive director's annual salary effective October 1st, 2025. I just wanted to get on the record the percentage.
Okay.
The percentages you're working with.
That's your discretion, actually.
Okay. So that would be our discretion, and it would be, the percentages would be 4% total plus the index?
No, sir, the percentage would be 4% total.
Total, okay.
2% COLA index and 2%.
Okay, so
up to
2 and 2
merit.
for a 4% total?
Correct.
Okay, so that's what I'd be looking for. Well, I made the motion, but I didn't make a motion, I stated the motion, but with the 4%.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, to move the item. Is there any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion? That passes unanimously. Okay, then we have routine status reports. Does any member have a comment on any of that? I don't think we need a presentation on those. Yeah, any comments on the routine status reports? Okay, I'm going to next move to member comments. I will start to my right. Commissioner Langford, any comments?
Just an observation on my way over here today. I'm sure glad that people aren't cattle, because if they was, I don't believe there'd be a blade of grass left in this country. Other than that, I'm good.
I was waiting for your comments. They came at the end. That's good. Commissioner Kutzing, any comments?
No, I did want to commend the team and Swift Mud, and I thought it was really great to have the valve turning ceremony, just to let the public be more aware of what a wonderful facility this is and how important it is to our communities, to our region. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for all the effort that went into that.
Well, since you were star of the video, I'm sure you love that valve. We're never going to hear the end of the valve turning ceremony. I can tell you that. Commissioner Bearden, you're recognized.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Any final staff comments?
No, sir.
Okay. We will move to public comments. Anybody from the public wishing to comment, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Last call. Anybody from the public wishing to comment, please come forward. You will have 3 minutes. Okay, I'm seeing nobody rise. For the announcements, our next Authority Board meeting is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025 in Sarasota County. And we have future Authority Board meetings would be December 3rd in Charlotte County. If there are no further comments, this meeting is adjourned.